There's something comforting about the predictability of a routine. It makes you feel safe. Like no matter what happens outside these walls, there's always a foundation you can rely on. I used to think that's what Claire and I had. Something solid. Something that couldn't be shaken. But now, as I stand in the kitchen, sipping my coffee, watching her bustle around making breakfast, there's a knot in my stomach that I can't seem to shake. The toaster pops, and Claire doesn't flinch, doesn't even look at me. She's been quieter than usual, distant in a way I've been trying not to notice, but it's there. We've been married long enough for me to know when something's off. Still, I tell myself it's nothing. We've both been busy, stressed with work. Maybe it's just that. Maybe I'm imagining things. Toast? She asks, holding up a plate as she glances over her shoulder at me. Yeah, sure, I mutter, setting my coffee down and walking over to the counter. I take the plate from her, my fingers brushing against hers. But there's no warmth there, no spark. She pulls away almost immediately, turning back to the stove to flip the eggs, like we're strangers passing in the kitchen instead of husband and wife. I sit at the table, staring down at the toast, but my appetite's gone. I glance over at Claire, watching the way she moves, how her shoulders seem a little more tense than usual, how her smile never quite reaches her eyes. I try to push the thought away. This is just a phase, a rough patch. We've been here before, and we've always gotten through it. I tell myself that, but I can't help the unease creeping up my spine. Claire sits down across from me, her phone buzzing on the table beside her. She glances at it briefly, then flips it over, face down. It's a small gesture, barely noticeable, but it feels like a punch to the gut. I try to focus on my breakfast, but my eyes keep darting to that phone, lying there between us like a wall. We've never been secretive with our phones before. In fact, it used to be a joke between us. How we knew each other's passcodes, how there was nothing to hide. But lately, she's been more protective of it, always keeping it close, always turning it over when I'm around. I told myself it didn't matter. Everyone deserves some privacy, right? But now, with that knot tightening in my stomach, I'm not so sure. You okay? Ask, trying to keep my voice casual, like I'm not noticing the growing distance between us. She doesn't look up right away, just takes a sip of her coffee, staring out the window. Yeah, she says after a moment, her voice quiet, just tired. It's been a long week. I nod, not pressing the issue, but the tension between us feels like it's thick enough to cut with a knife. I try to think back, to remember the last time we had a real conversation, the last time we laughed together, but nothing comes to mind. Feels like we've been living in this silence for weeks now, maybe months. I finish my toast, the taste bland in my mouth, and stand up to put my plate in the sink. Claire's phone buzzes again, the sound sharp in the quiet kitchen. I glance at her, waiting for her to check it, but she doesn't move. She just stares down at her coffee, like she's somewhere else entirely. I can't take it anymore. I walk over to the counter and pick up my own phone, scrolling through my emails, trying to distract myself. But I can still feel the weight of her phone on the table, the unspoken tension hanging between us. The sound of a chair scraping against the floor pulls me out of my thoughts. Claire stands up, grabbing her plate and walking to the sink, her movements stiff, robotic. She rinses the dishes in silence, her back to me, and I watch her, feeling more disconnected from her than I ever have before. What time do you get off work today? Ask, hoping to break the silence, to start a conversation, anything to fill the gap between us. I'm not sure, she says without turning around. I have a meeting this afternoon. I might be late. Another meeting. She's been having a lot of those lately. Late-night meetings. Last-minute plans that keep her out until after dark. I've tried not to think too much about it. Tried not to question where she's been or who she's been with. But now, standing here in this quiet kitchen, it's all I can think about. She finishes washing the dishes and wipes her hands on a towel. Still not looking at me. I should get going, she says, grabbing her phone from the table and slipping it into her bag. I'll text you if I'm going to be home late. Okay, I say, my voice flat. Claire walks past me without a word. Heading toward the door, I hear the soft click of her heels on the floor, the jingle of her keys, and then the door swings open. Bye, she says, almost as an afterthought. Bye, I reply, watching as she walks out the door, closing it softly behind her. I stand there for a moment, staring at the door, the house suddenly feeling much quieter than it did a few minutes ago. I tell myself it's just a bad morning, that we're both stressed, that everything will be fine. But deep down, I know that's not true. I sit back down at the table, my mind racing. Something isn't right. I've been ignoring it for weeks, brushing it off as stress or exhaustion. But now I can't shake the feeling that there's more to it. Claire's been distant, secretive, and I can't help but feel like I'm losing her. I glance over at the spot where her phone was lying just minutes ago. I've never been the kind of husband who checks his wife's phone. But the knot in my stomach is telling me to dig deeper, to figure out what's really going on. But before I can follow through on that impulse, my own phone buzzes in my pocket. I pull it out, frowning when I see a missed call from my younger cousin, Zach. I haven't heard from him in a while. He's been busy with his own life, college, and all that comes with it. A second later, a text pops up. Zach, call me when you get a sec. We need to talk. The unease in my chest tightens as I stare down at the message. Zach has never sent me a text like that before. Usually, it's just casual check-ins or plans to catch up. Not we need to talk. I don't know why, but something about this feels off. Like the puzzle pieces I've been trying to ignore are starting to fall into place. And I'm not going to like the picture that's forming. I take a deep breath, my hand hovering over the call button. But I hesitate. I'm not ready yet. I'm not sure I'm ready to hear what Zach has to say. But I have a feeling that today is the day everything changes. The house feels emptier without Claire in it. It's always like that when she leaves. Quiet, still, like the life has been sucked out of the rooms. I've been used to it before, but lately, that silence has been harder to ignore. I sit at the table, staring at the text from Zach on my phone, my thumb hovering over the call button. Something about his message is gnawing at me. We need to talk. That's not a casual phrase. Not from him. Zach has never been the serious type. He's always been laid back, carefree, the kind of guy who skates through life without worrying too much. So why now? Why does he suddenly need to talk? I don't call him right away. Instead, I scroll through my phone, flipping between messages, emails, social media, anything to distract myself from the pit growing in my stomach. But no matter how much I try to ignore it, my mind keeps drifting back to this morning. The way Claire wouldn't look at me, the way she kept her phone turned over, like she was hiding something, the way she brushed off my questions about work, like they were too much for her to deal with. And then there's Zach's text. My stomach twists as I stand up and pace the kitchen, running a hand through my hair. I know I'm being paranoid. There's no reason to think Claire's doing anything wrong. She's been under a lot of stress at work, and that's probably why she's been acting distant, right? But that doesn't explain everything. I sit back down at the kitchen table, staring at the spot where Claire's phone had been earlier. Something in me, something I've been pushing down for weeks, starts to stir again. The urge to know, to stop brushing it off, to stop ignoring the signs. I pick up my phone and scroll through Claire's recent texts. We've never been secretive with each other's phones before. In fact, we've joked about how predictable and boring our texts are. Plans for dinner, reminders to pick up groceries, the occasional meme. But this time, I don't go to our thread. I start looking for something else, for someone else. And then I see it. A name I didn't expect. Zach. I pause, my heart pounding in my chest. Claire and Zach have always been friendly. He's been around us for years. Ever since he was a kid. He's part of the family. And Clara's always treated him like a younger brother. But seeing his name here, in her texts, something doesn't feel right. I open the thread. my hands shaking slightly as I scroll through their conversation. First, it's nothing. Normal, casual stuff. Zach asking for advice about school. Claire joking with him about his terrible taste in music. But as I scroll further back, the tone starts to change. Zach, you sure you're okay? Claire, yeah, just a lot going on. I'll be fine. Zach, you know I'm always here if you need me. Claire, I know. Thanks. Zach, you're sweet. I stop scrolling, my pulse quickening. Something about these messages feels too personal, too intimate. But maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm reading into something that isn't there. I scroll further, my eyes scanning the messages for anything else. Anything that feels out of place. And then I find it. Zach, I'm still thinking about the other night. I can't stop. Claire, Zach, we need to be careful. He can't find out. My heart stops. I stare at the screen, my mind racing, trying to make sense of what I just read. But no matter how hard I try to rationalize it, the truth is staring me in the face. He can't find out. She's talking about me. My hands are shaking now, and I feel like I might be sick. I read the messages over and over again, hoping I'm wrong, hoping that this is some kind of misunderstanding. But deep down, I know I'm not wrong. I know exactly what this means. Claire is having an affair with Zach, my younger cousin. The room feels like it's spinning around me, my thoughts crashing into each other in a whirlwind of disbelief, anger, and heartbreak. How long has this been going on? How could I not have seen it? Claire and Zach, two people I trusted more than anyone, and they've been lying to me this whole time. I stand up, pushing the chair back with a scrape as I pace the kitchen, my mind racing. What the hell am I supposed to do now? Do I call Claire? Do I confront her? Or do I go straight to Zach and demand an explanation? I pull up Zach's contact on my phone, my thumb hovering over the call button. The anger is building now, bubbling up from the pit of my stomach, spreading through my chest. I want answers. I need to hear it from him. But before I can hit call, another message pops up on my screen. Zach, have you talked to her yet? My blood runs cold. It's like he knows. Like he's waiting for me to confront her, waiting for everything to come crashing down. The audacity of it. Texting me like nothing's wrong, like he hasn't been sneaking around with my wife behind my back. I can't take it anymore. I dial his number, my hand shaking as I press the phone to my ear. It rings twice before he picks up. Hey, Aaron, Zach says, his voice casual, like this is just another day. But it's not. You need to tell me the truth, I say, my voice low and tight, barely able to hold back the rage boiling inside me. There's a pause on the other end of the line, just long enough to make my skin crawl. What are you talking about? He asks, his voice still calm. But there's a tension there now, a hesitation. You know exactly what I'm talking about, I say, my voice shaking. You and Claire. How long has this been going on? There's silence on the other end. For a moment, I think maybe he'll deny it. Maybe he'll try to lie his way out of this. But then I hear him sigh, and the weight of his guilt crashes through the phone. Aaron, I didn't want you to find out like this, Zach says, his voice quieter now. I never meant for it to happen. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I trusted you, I say, my voice breaking. Your family. Zach, how could you do this? I'm sorry, Zach whispers. I didn't want to hurt you. Neither of us did. Neither of us. Claire and Zach. Together. I can't breathe. I can't think. My entire world is collapsing around me, and I don't know how to stop it. How long? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. Zach hesitates. A few months. It just happened. A few months. All this time, Claire has been lying to me, sneaking around with Zach, my own cousin. I hang up the phone without another word, my hands shaking, my heart pounding in my chest. I can't process this. I can't make sense of it. Everything I thought I knew has been ripped away from me in a matter of minutes. I stare at my phone, the screen now dark and silent, my mind still racing. I need to confront Claire. I need to hear it from her. But I don't know if I'm ready for that. The drive home from work feels longer than usual. My thoughts are racing, my hands gripping the steering wheel too tight, and I don't even realize how fast I'm going until the red light ahead forces me to slam on the brakes. The tires squeal, and my body jerks forward. But all I can think about is what's waiting for me when I get home. Claire, her face, her voice, the lies that have been slipping out of her mouth for months now. And Zach, my cousin, my family, the two of them together. Every time I think about it, the knot in my stomach twists tighter, and the anger pulses like a living thing inside me. I pull into the driveway, the house standing there in the fading light, looking the same as it always does. But everything's different. Now, my world has been split wide open and I can't pretend anymore. I can't act like everything's fine, like we're just going through a rough patch because this isn't a rough patch. This is betrayal. I get out of the car and head inside my heart, pounding my pulse racing. The house is quiet, almost too quiet, and for a moment, I wonder if Claire's even home. But then I hear it, the sound of the shower running upstairs. She's here. I stand at the bottom of the stairs, my hands shaking. Part of me wants to run up there, burst into the bathroom, and confront her right now. But another part of me, the part that's still trying to cling to some shred of sanity, tells me to wait, to take a breath, to think about what I'm going to say. But what's there to say? I know the truth. I know what she's been doing. There's no talking our way out of this. There's no fixing this. The shower shuts off, and I hear the soft click of the bathroom door. Claire's footsteps move down the hallway, and a moment later, she appears at the top of the stairs, towel wrapped around her body, her hair damp and loose around her shoulders. She's humming softly to herself, completely unaware that her world is about to fall apart. Her eyes land on me, and she stops mid-step, her smile faltering. The shower shuts off, and I hear the soft click of the bathroom door. She's humming softly to herself, completely unaware that her world is about to fall apart. "Aaron," she says, her voice cautious, like she can sense something's off. "I didn't know you were home already." I stare at her, the weight of everything pressing down on me. And for a moment, I can't speak. I don't even know where to start. But then the anger surges up again, and the words spill out before I can stop them. "Tell me the truth," I say, my voice cold and hard. Claire frowns, her grip on the towel tightening as she takes another step down. "What are you talking about?" "I know," I say, my voice shaking now, barely able to keep my anger in check. "I know about you and Zach." Her face goes pale, the color draining from her cheeks in an instant. For a moment, she just stares at me, frozen in place like a deer caught in headlights. And then, slowly, she takes another step down, her eyes wide with shock, her mouth opening and closing like she's struggling to find the words. "Aaron." "Don't," I snap, cutting her off. "Don't lie to me, Claire. I know. I saw the texts. I talked to Zach." The deafening. Claire's face crumples, her shoulders slumping as she sinks down onto the stairs, burying her face in her hands. Her body shakes, and I realize she's crying. But I don't feel any sympathy. Not anymore. "I'm sorry," she whispers, her voice muffled by her hands. "I'm so sorry, Aaron. Sorry." I laugh bitterly, shaking my head as I pace back and forth in the hallway, the anger pulsing inside me like a live wire. "You're sorry? You've been lying to me for months, Claire. You've been sleeping with my cousin. And now you're sorry?" She wipes at her eyes, her hands trembling as she looks up at me, her face streaked with tears. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It just happened. It just happened," I shout, my voice echoing off the walls. "How does something like that just happen? Claire? You and Zach? He's family. How could you do this?" "I don't know," she cries, standing up suddenly, the towel slipping from her shoulders as she wraps it tighter around herself. "I don't know. Okay. I was lost. I was confused. And Zach, he was there. He understood me in a way that she stops, her eyes widening as she realizes what she's just said. But it's too late. The words are already out there, hanging between us like a knife, poised to cut me open, in a way that I what? Ask, my voice low, dangerous. Go ahead, Claire. Finish that sentence. She shakes her head, the tears flowing again. But I can see the truth in her eyes. This isn't just about an affair. This isn't just about Zach. This is about us. About our marriage. About the cracks that I didn't want to see. The ones that Zach slipped through. I take a step back, the weight of it all crashing down on me. And for the first time, I feel the grief, the loss. Everything I thought we had is gone. And it's not just because of the affair. It's because we were broken long before this. I just didn't want to admit it. Why, Zach? Ask, my voice quieter now, the anger fading into something else. Something hollow. Why him? Claire looks away, her shoulders slumping as she wipes at her eyes. I don't know. She whispers. It just happened. The words feel like a death sentence. And I realize there's no point in asking why anymore. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. What's done is done. And there's no going back. I trusted you, I say, my voice cracking. I trusted both of you. I'm sorry. Claire whispers again, her voice barely audible. I never wanted to hurt you, but she did. And no amount of apologies can change that. I turn away from her, my heart pounding in my chest, my mind spinning with everything that's happened in the last few hours. I can't stay here. I can't look at her. Not right now. I need to get out of this house before I lose what little control I have left. I need to leave, I say, my voice hollow. Claire looks up, panic flashing across her face. Aaron, wait, but I'm already halfway to the door. I can't listen to her anymore. I can't stand here and watch her fall apart when I'm the one who's been betrayed. I open the door and step outside, the cold evening air hitting me like a slap to the face. I stand there for a moment, breathing in the night, trying to calm the storm inside me. But it's no use. The rage, the grief, the heartbreak, it's all too much. I can't stay here. I can't be in this house with her. Not tonight. I get into my car and drive. The sound of the engine is all I can hear. It hums beneath me, vibrating through the steering wheel. But my mind is somewhere else entirely. The road stretches out in front of me, dark and empty, with only the streetlights flickering in the distance. I don't know where I'm going. I don't even care. I just had to get out. The weight of it all presses down on my chest, heavy and suffocating, like I can't breathe. I keep replaying Claire's words in my head, over and over again, her voice trembling as she said, I'm sorry, Aaron. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just happened. The phrase rattles in my brain like an accusation, as if something as catastrophic as this could just happen. Like it was some kind of accident. Like it wasn't months of lies, secrets, and betrayal all piled on top of each other until it buried me alive. I pull over to the side of the road, my hands shaking as I grip the steering wheel tighter, my knuckles turning white. The world around me feels too quiet, too still. I press my forehead against the wheel, my heart pounding in my chest, my breathing shallow. How did this happen? How did my life fall apart in the span of a few hours? Just this morning, I thought everything was normal. Sure, things with Claire had been strained, but I never thought it was this. I never imagined it would be her and Zach. My cousin, my family. That part feels like a knife twisted in my gut. Zach and we've been close our whole lives. I practically helped raise him. And now he's the one who ripped my marriage apart. I feel the anger boiling up again. But this time it's mixed with something else. Grief, loss, a deep, hollow ache that I can't get rid of no matter how much I try to push it down. I can't believe I didn't see it. I can't believe I was so blind. The signs were there. The distance between us. Claire's late nights. The way she was always glued to her phone. And Zach, always hanging around. Always so damn charming and carefree. I should have known. I should have paid more attention. But even as I think it, I know it wouldn't have mattered. Claire and Zach made their choices. They decided to betray me, to lie to my face for months. I trusted them and they took advantage of that trust. They destroyed it. My stomach twists and I sit up, running a hand through my hair. I feel sick, like I've been gutted, left hollow and empty. There's no going back from this. I know that, but the thought of what comes next, what I'm supposed to do now, is terrifying. I reach for my phone, pulling it out of my pocket with trembling hands. The screen lights up and the first thing I see is a missed call from Zach. My blood runs cold. My hand tightens around the phone, and for a second, I feel like throwing it out the window. But instead, I just stare at the screen, at his name, at the notification that says I have a voicemail. He left a message. Of course he did. The anger flares up again, burning through the sadness, and I hit play before I can stop myself. Zach's voice comes through the speaker, quieter than usual, almost like he's scared. "Aaron, man, I don't know how to even start this." He pauses, and I can hear him take a deep breath. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean much right now, but I am. I never wanted this to happen. I never wanted to hurt you, your family. You've always been there for me and I." There's another pause, a long one this time, like he doesn't know what to say next. "I don't know what's going on with Claire," he continues. "I don't know how we ended up here, but I swear, Aaron, I didn't mean for this to happen. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore." His voice cracks, and for a second, he sounds as broken as I feel. I wanted to be there for her, and somewhere along the way, it got messed up. "I know you'll never forgive me. I know I've ruined everything, but I just needed you to know that I'm sorry." The message ends and I sit there, staring at the screen, my heart pounding in my chest. I don't know what I expected him to say, but it wasn't that. The apology, the guilt. I wanted to hate him. I wanted to believe that this was all his fault, that he was some kind of monster who seduced Claire, manipulated her, tore us apart. But the truth is, it's not that simple. It never is. Zach and Claire both made choices. They both crossed lines. And now they're both going to have to live with the consequences. But that doesn't change the fact that they've both destroyed something I thought was unbreakable. I closed the voicemail, my hands still shaking as I set the phone down on the passenger seat. The anger is still there, simmering beneath the surface. But it's not enough to drown out the grief, the loss, the feeling that everything I thought I knew, everything I thought I could count on, has been ripped away from me. I don't know what to do next. Do I go back home? Do I confront Claire again? Do I call my family? Tell them what Zach did? I don't even know how to begin unraveling this mess. I sit there for a long time, staring out at the empty road, my mind racing. The world feels too quiet, too big, and for the first time in my life, I feel completely and utterly lost. My phone buzzes again, and I glance down, half expecting it to be Zach. But it's not. It's Claire. I don't want to read the message. I don't want to hear what she has to say, because I know it won't make a difference. Nothing she says can fix this, but I open it anyway. "Claire, please come home. We need to talk." I laugh bitterly, shaking my head. We need to talk. That's what people say when they think they can fix things. When they think words will somehow undo months of lies, of betrayal. But there's nothing to talk about anymore. I turn off the phone, shoving it back into my pocket. I can't talk to her right now. I can't even look at her without feeling like my heart is being ripped out of my chest. I take a deep breath, my hands still trembling as I start the car again. I don't know where I'm going, but I know I can't stay here. Not in this place. Not in this headspace. I pull back onto the road, driving into the darkness. I don't know how long I've been driving. The road stretches out in front of me, long and empty, the headlights cutting through the darkness. I've lost track of time, lost track of where I'm going. All I know is that I can't go back. Not yet. My mind is spinning, replaying everything over and over again. The confrontation with Claire, Zach's voicemail, the text from Claire asking me to come home. Home. That word doesn't feel right anymore. It doesn't feel like the place I've spent the last 8 years building a life with her. Feels like a shell now, empty and broken, just like the marriage we once had. I pull off to the side of the road, the engine idling as I stare out at the darkened landscape around me. The anger is still there, bubbling under the surface. But it's muted now, buried under a layer of exhaustion. I'm too tired to be angry anymore. Too tired to feel anything except this hollow ache in my chest. The truth is, I don't know what to do next. I don't know how to fix this, or if it's even possible to fix it. Claire's words keep echoing in my head. The way she said she didn't mean for it to happen. But that doesn't make it any easier to swallow. It doesn't change the fact that she made her choice. They both did. It just happened, she said. But things like this don't just happen. They're choices. Every text, every lie, every night she spent with Zach instead of with me. It wasn't an accident. It was a betrayal. I sit back in my seat, staring up at the dark sky through the windshield. The world feels too quiet, like it's holding its breath, waiting for me to decide what comes next. But I don't have the answers. Not yet. My phone buzzes in my pocket again, and I pull it out, the screen lighting up with another message from Claire. I don't want to read it, but I do anyway. Claire, I'm sorry, Aaron. Please come home. Let's talk. The words blur in front of my eyes, and for a moment, I wonder if maybe, just maybe, I could go back. If I could sit down with her, hear her out, try to understand how we got here. But then I remember the look in her eyes, the way she cried and begged for forgiveness after months of lying to my face. I shake my head, my grip tightening around the phone. There's nothing to talk about. Not now. Not after everything. The damage is done and no amount of talking can undo what she did. I put the phone down on the passenger seat and lean back, staring out the window again. The truth is, I don't know what my life looks like from here. Everything I thought I knew, everything I thought was solid, has crumbled in a matter of hours. My marriage, my trust in Claire, my relationship with Zach, all of it gone. I keep thinking about what comes next. The practical things, the house, the divorce, the money, but none of it feels real yet. It's like I'm floating through a dream, waiting to wake up and find that none of this has happened. But I know that's not going to happen. This is real. This is my life now, and I have to deal with it. I take a deep breath, running a hand through my hair and start the car again. The engine hums beneath me, steady and familiar, and for the first time in what feels like hours, I feel a small flicker of clarity. I can't go back. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. But I can't run forever either. I pull back onto the road, the tires crunching over the gravel as I drive back toward town. I don't know where I'm going, but I know I can't avoid it any longer. I have to face this. I have to figure out what my next move is. I can't let this destroy me. The streets are quiet as I pull into town, the streetlights casting long shadows over the empty sidewalks. I drive past the house without stopping, glancing at the darkened windows as I go by. Claire's car is still in the driveway. She's waiting for me, probably pacing the floor, wondering where I am, wondering if I'll come back. But I don't stop. I keep driving. I don't know what I'll do tomorrow. I don't know how I'll face her again, or if I'll even want to. But for now, all I know is that I need space. I need time to think, to breathe, to figure out what the hell I'm gonna do next. Eventually, I pull into the parking lot of a small motel on the edge of town. The neon sign flickers in the darkness, casting an eerie glow over the cracked asphalt. It's not much, but it's enough for tonight. It's enough to give me the space I need to think, to process. I park the car and sit there for a moment. The engine's still running, my hands still gripping the wheel. I can feel the weight of everything pressing down on me. But I know I can't avoid it forever. I have to make decisions. I have to pick up the pieces. But not tonight. I step out of the car, the cold air biting at my skin as I walk toward the motel entrance. The clerk behind the desk doesn't ask any questions. He barely looks at me as he hands me a key, his eyes glued to the TV behind him. I wonder if he can see it on my face. The heartbreak, the betrayal, the way my life has fallen apart in the span of a single day. I take the key, mumbling a quiet thanks, and make my way to the room. The small and dingy, the wallpaper peeling at the edges, the bedspread worn and faded. But I don't care. I just need a place to be alone. Away from Claire. Away from everything. I close the door behind me and collapse onto the bed, staring up at the ceiling. The silence is deafening. But it's the kind of silence I need right now. I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I don't know how I'll face Claire again, or if I even can. But I do know that this is the end. There's no going back. Our marriage, whatever was left of it, is I feel the tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. But I blink them away. I've cried enough for today. Now, it's time to start thinking about how I move forward, how I rebuild my life without her. Without them, it feels impossible right now, like the weight of it is too much to carry. But I know I have to try. I have to keep going. For me, for my future, for whatever comes next. I close my eyes, letting out a long, shaky breath. The ache in my chest is still there, but for the first time, it feels a little less suffocating. Maybe, just maybe, I'll be okay.